Hello, hi there.
How are you? Very good. We've had a few technical difficulties at this end. We've just changed device, so my apologies for our slight delay.
Oh, no problem at all. We like to leave a couple of minutes for people to join and to also realize that the spaces is running. I assume that's Richard.
It is indeed, yes,
Oh,
yes.
great, great. Hello, Richard.
Hello, it's a
Hello.
pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. I hope those holidays were nice and refreshing.
Yeah, and they were pretty good. Yeah, always working, but don't tell the wife I'm out here working still.
I will not. I hope she doesn't find out through the spaces because we are giving it a lot of visibility.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
We've got, I'm keeping the door barricaded. I've got three dogs as well.
Well,
Dogs are,
if you suddenly disappear, then we know what happened.
yes,
Great.
taking down the dogs or the wife. Either is a possibility.
That's the boss, right?
You know.
Yeah, great. Okay, so well, since Richard, might disconnect at any time, let's get it started and try to keep it sweet. Sorry, short and sweet. Well, sweet and short is the same. So well, we can let Richard, go back and well, please the boss. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Partner Spotlight series. I'm Sergio, community manager of Anchor, and well, I will be your host for today's spaces. As I think, as well as always, ever since a year back or so. And before we get started, just a really quick and small review and TLDR about Anchor. So Anchor is building the future of Web3 infrastructure, servicing over 55 chains with an industry-leading global node delivery system, RPC services, and advanced API. We currently serve trillions of transactions a year across Web3, enabling a massive share of all Web3 traffic for dApps, decentralized applications, and well, also end users alike. And as one of the chains of this ecosystem today, we are really excited to be spotlighting one of our recent partners, Electroneum, and discussing the thrilling collaboration with them. Joining us today is Richard, CEO at Electroneum. We might have his wife at some point in the call as well. And yeah, he will be sharing insights about the project, their mission, and their vision for the future as well. So super excited to have you here with us. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm very excited to be here too, and I echo exactly what you've said about your own company. We're delighted to be partnered with Anchor. You're as far as I'm concerned, you're the best RPC provider. Whenever I'm writing contracts and creating anything in the Web3 environment, you've always been my go-to API provider.
Wow, lovely. Yeah, thank you so much for the positive feedback. And well, I hope a lot of potential, partners out there hear you and also, follow their way to Anchor. Um, what do you think about kicking things off with a bit of background, Richard? Or listeners always enjoy hearing about, the people behind these incredible projects. So could you tell us a bit about yourself, maybe your role at Ethereum? At Electroneum. Oh my gosh. We'd love to hear about your journey, and well, basically how you ended up here today.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. Well, yeah, I'll follow your advice and try and keep it short and sweet as well. So I've always been in tech for decades. I'm fortunate or unfortunate enough to be ancient. I have always been in tech. I've got a few IT companies still running as well as outside of the crypto space, but saw that cryptocurrency should have been being used and still should be being used far more by developing countries and developing nation users, simply because it is the solution to the unbanked problem. We were probably the first project that said, yeah, we're designed and built for the unbanked, and I suspect we do more on the ground and have more real world transactions than than most of these projects that say they work for the unbanked. But then when you actually look at them, they're a token, and they cost $2.40 to make a transaction of 10 cents. The crazy world that is. So we're all about empowering the unbanked and getting people from the developing world into the digital marketplace where they can earn and spend outside of the traditional financial grid, I suppose. Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Thank you for that introduction, Richard. And well, they say experience builds up wisdom. So super happy to learn more. From I would say possibly a black belt already at this point. Also that lovely British accent, right? Yeah, it's great to learn more about your background. Sounds like you have had an interesting journey. And now, for those who might not be as familiar with Electroneum, what is it and what inspired its creation? I'm sure our listeners would love to know more about the origins and the vision behind it. And I think you're the best person to do this.
Cool, thank you. Well, I was playing around with. At the time when I first got into building Electroneum, I had 36 or 37 mining rigs dotted around the house, much to my wife's dismay, although we didn't have much of a heating bill in the winter. But we had mining rigs everywhere. And I was very much that sort of crypto nerd, I guess, who was into crypto back in 2014. I guess I first looked. 2015, I was really involved. So, and then in 2016, I said, you know what we really need is a crypto that's got ultra low fees and is focused on micropayments only. Really, that's its main goal is to do that. And I had this idea of enabling people to on-ramp, off-ramp without necessarily having to go through exchanges. And for the off-ramp, because we've got, I don't know if you've seen it, but we've got a product called anytask.com, which is like Fiverr, if you've ever seen Fiverr. It's a freelancer platform, and you can log on to any, probably there's 30-odd thousand, maybe a bit more now, people selling digital skills on anytask.com. So people can go on there, not have a bank account, they can earn ETN, and so they'll design you a logo for $5-10 or something, and these people will be in Indonesia or Nigeria, Bangladesh, anywhere in the world. They don't have to be banked. They can design something digitally. They can do some other digital freelance work for people. They get paid in ETN, and then the beauty of it is we've got an Electroneum app, which is at about 3.5 million downloads.
Oh wow!
That enables people to off-ramp their ETN into airtime or data. So now we've pretty much, it fluctuates because our deals come and go, but we've probably got about 120, 130 countries that you can off-ramp into airtime and data with the major telcos. So effectively what it means is that you don't have to have an off-ramp into fiat. You can swap your ETN into airtime and data. And then many of these people will trade with their family and friends, so they'll top up family and friends' phones, and then obviously do some sort of cash deal to monetize. So we are quite a different sort of a project, and we've been around a long time now. So launched. We wrote the original blockchain in 2016. We have gone through a few iterations since then, and I mean we were being persecuted somewhat because right at the beginning I really liked the CryptoNote protocol. I did not like public blockchains, particularly for these people, because a lot of them come from countries where they get persecuted and or there's a danger in their wealth being very public. So I preferred privacy chains. But the way the world has gone, obviously regulatory bodies are terrified of privacy chains. So the first thing we did was we unwound that. And so we've been a non-private blockchain for many, many years now. And then the last change, which was in March of this year, is we have rolled out an EVM compatible blockchain. So because we've got quite a lot of interest, we work with NGOs on the ground in a lot of these places, non-governmental organisations, and they are the people that run our validator network. and we've had a lot of interest from them talking about smart contracts and things. And we thought, you know what we really need to do is we need to re-emerge as an EVM compatible, ultra low cost smart contract chain, which then gives all the functions that we had before. So super low cost transactions, but also super low cost smart contract deployment. So that's obviously just gone live in March. That went very, very, very smoothly, which was great. Nice. It was a monster fork, 2 years worth of work in that fork. And then then the next thing was to get the best RPC provider in the market, which is why we're here talking, and we're working with you guys. So now developers have got the best tools that there are, which is accessible through your RPC platform. And so the next stage is for us to start getting more and more dApps developed on our blockchain. If you go and look at our Block Explorer at any point, we've got there are a couple of DeFi or decentralized exchanges. I'm probably veering off somewhat into dangerous territory by talking about them, but they're not ours, but people are already developing on our blockchain. So lots of stuff already going. There's games under development and all sorts of other things. And we're going to have a hackathon to really encourage that sort of network adoption. We're also working with a few universities. We haven't got any of them live yet, but we're speaking to a number of universities around the world, all in developing nations, to enable their students to go straight into smart contract development on the Electroneum chain, bearing in mind that as a validator, they'll have enough Electroneum floating around to give their students completely free access to a live chain rather than doing all of their project work on a testnet, which is what largely happens now.
Wow, that was an extensive response. And yeah, thank you, Richard.
It's short and sweet. I'm rubbish at so short and sweet.
That's good. No, that's good. The more insights we have from you, the more that we can extract from you, the better.
Feel free to reach out and whack me metaphorically with a stick if I ramble on too much.
I will call your wife. I think that's more effective. Yeah, but I must say that was very insightful, and it's always fascinating to hear about the origins of such innovative projects from first-hand sources like you. The story behind Electroneum is truly inspiring and interesting as well. It's a project, just some things that caught my attention. So it's a project that comes from 2016. So, well, I mean, everyone in the audience, you've probably been long enough in the crypto ecosystem to know that project from that time could be called, well, I don't want to say ancient, but it's kind of long in the crypto space because that's nearly 8 years, right? Right, Richard?
Yeah, it is a long time. Yeah, we launched the first blockchain publicly in 2017. So
Wow.
yes,
Yeah.
it's
That's by the time I joined the crypto space, and well, I think I always mention this in every AMA, I think. But lately, we've had projects that from that time as well as guests. So, were you running by just asking, just in case? Were you running by any other name? Did you do
no,
any
no,
rebrand?
no. We were always called. I mean, the strange thing about the name Electroneum is it's the nerdiest name, and
it is.
I had no real intention of it being the runaway success that it was. It was the idea originally was let's build something that works really well for the developing world. What does it run on? It runs on electrons. The Eneum, Neum was very much Ethereum based. I'm like, Eum, yeah.
Oh,
it's
right.
It's Eum. There was actually a blockchain called Electron. We were calling it Electron to start with, and then we realised we're going to need to stick an Eum on it.
Right.
So we didn't spend too much time thinking of it. It is a little bit of a mouthful. I probably wouldn't have called it Electroneum in retrospect, but at the same time, it was great and gratifying to see the interest at the time. We've got a great deal of interest in the developing world. We need to get more interest in the traditional space so that people understand that we are around and will be around for a long time. So we're going to we're going to be expanding more into the traditional crypto space, shall we say?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I was just wondering because it sounded familiar, but I wasn't sure if, I was confusing it with some other project. And well, I mean, I like the name though, Richard. To be honest, it sounds like a new element. Like titanium, electronium. It's I like the feel that it gives. And then another thing that caught my attention is that real, like super real utility that you're giving the talking. I actually never thought about this. It's really innovative that you can exchange it for you call it airtime.
Yeah,
So that's data,
airtime
right?
or that's exactly right. Well, funnily enough, and where that came from
Hmm.
was because I had a colleague who was in Vodafone at the time, and they had rolled
Oh, I
out
see.
they'd rolled out a way for people to exchange airtime and data in Africa via SMS.
Hmm.
So all theirs were just feature phones. They weren't. There was no smartphones at the time, and their feature phones enabled them to exchange data with SMS. And when they exchanged, when I say data, airtime with SMS,
Hmm.
people started using the airtime as a currency. So, and that really took off in Africa. The
Oh, I
airtime
see.
was exchanged for, you could go and buy a bottle of water or some fruit with some airtime. So that's what led me into thinking, do you know what? That segues really well into crypto if we can just get the people to say, yeah, let's do it. And there's not enough money for the large networks to really get behind it as much as I would have liked them to.
Mm.
It's but if we can get that adoption rate up, then actually I think we could get a major network behind it. Funnily enough, we had a major network behind it, which we did loads of work on. They were in Cambodia, and I was in and out to Cambodia a lot. The deal was fantastic, and then the Cambodian government banned cryptocurrency. So that was a slightly large setback at the time. But yeah, look, it's we were working with large telcos, but at the same time, the big thing I think is just that empowerment of people. If we can get people earning some extra money, as it were, some extra earnings in crypto, then giving them the ability to do things with it. So initially that was just airtime and data, but with the release of the EVM and with the release of access, through your RPC system for people to develop DeFi, to develop decentralized exchanges, etc., it actually gives those people that are earning a little bit extra. And when I say a little bit extra, I mean these people are earning maybe 30, 40. Some of the bigger earners are earning 80, $200, $300 a month. We're not talking about vast fortunes, but significant amounts of money for them for it to have made a difference to their life. It is quite a lovely
Yeah, of
thing.
course, of course. It's relatively it's quite a lot, and depending on where you're located.
And it's extra to what they had before.
Of course.
That's the important thing. And so if they can then take that, and there are bridges coming and all sorts of things that are coming down the track now, and as that enables people to move value around on different blockchains and get involved in other projects without necessarily struggling. They don't have to have a bank on ramp and off ramp. So remaining completely unbanked and yet managing to get access to some of these financial products that are floating around elsewhere that have nothing to do with our project, but they'll be able to jump around between blockchains or whatever. I'm really excited to.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Same as working with NGOs. That's another point that caught my attention. That's huge, and it's always great to learn about these base layers coming from that time, which is there were so many base layer projects that basically just don't exist anymore. So it's huge to know more, to know what you've done, and to be basically today talking to you and serving your chain.
Thank you.
Yes, and now just delving a bit more into the core of Electroneum, Richard. So the technology behind projects like yours often amazes our listeners. Are there any more details or more in-depth items that you would like to talk about to explain the core technology behind Electroneum?
The one thing that we have that is kind of lucky, I suppose, is because we're dealing with NGOs. They're trusted organizations. And that doesn't mean that trusted organizations can't get hacked. Everybody seems to get hacked at some point, right?
Yeah.
So the danger with validators and people running a validator for you is that you have a danger that their keys, their permissioned validators in our network, that their permission keys will be released. And so our validators they're completely specific to us. We wrote the validators from the ground up, and the validators are IBFT consensus, Istanbul Byzantine fault tolerant consensus mechanism. And we've got 5-second blocks, but because we've got a lot of trust in our network, and we can automatically shut people down if they do anything nasty on the network. We've got all sorts of fail safes. We've got some really clever stuff. And because of that, we've got a 5-second finality. So when you transfer something, there's no confirmation blocks to wait. So you literally have 5 seconds, and then it's confirmed 100% that it's never going to be reversed. So that is going to also make a difference, I think, to some of our commercial people that we're talking to, because we haven't really been vastly different from other chains, except we were lacking smart contracts, and we still had that sort of confirmation block model where it was kind of old-fashioned technology, if you will. So now we're right at the cutting edge of the speed of the blockchain. We've just done another little partnership with ChainSpect, which is a chain inspection company. If you haven't gone and looked at them, go and have a look. They'll be really pleased. I said that. I suspect. Go and have a look at ChainSpect. They are giving some really interesting analytics of many of the main blockchains, speed of transactions, transactions per second, maximum capabilities, all sorts of things. And we've done that specifically because it's really good to see ourselves up there in print and watch as we now get everything migrated across from our old chain, across our bridge, and start seeing the usage go up and start seeing us creep up the leaderboard.
Wow, lovely. Thank you, Richard. I think it's going to be so easy for us to extract some quotes, from these spaces. You're sharing just so much and so many interesting things with us, and it's just lovely to have you as a guest. Just wanted to mention that before moving on to a new question. And yeah, the technological foundation is so crucial, right? It sets the stage for basically everything else. And so thank you for your explanation again, Richard. So now that we have talked about, Electroneum, what you guys do, your mission, your vision, your technology, I think it's, is there anything else you would like to add though, before we move on to a new section?
No, I don't think so, because otherwise I'll witter on again. Yeah, I could be here all night.
Well, I mean, as long as X Spaces don't kick us out, I think we can stay as long as we want. Yeah, your wife probably won't be happy.
I probably painted a bad picture of her. She's always happy, actually.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that's great.
Yeah. Happy wife, happy life.
Oh, yeah, they say this a lot. Well, now that we have talked about technology, I think we could talk a bit about not so recent, but our collaboration. And it's always interesting to hear from the guests, from our partners, because they show how different technologies and teams can come together, create something more powerful. So I just wonder, how did this partnership with Anchor come about? Curious to hear, how you connected and what drove the decision to collaborate. Any, I always ask this, any anecdotes, anything that, you would like to tell us?
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, I sort of alluded to the fact at the beginning that, I've been writing software myself. Only, I'm not. I'm more of a dabbler nowadays. I'm embarrassed at how my skills really don't stack up now. I've got blockchain team that wow me every time I talk to them, and the same thing. The guys at the back end who write the app. I have to take my hat off to all these people. There was a time I could have conversations with them all, and I felt like I was bringing some value to the conversation, and I could help debug things. I feel a little left behind now. I feel my age, but things have, but nonetheless, I can still sit down and write myself some scripts to do some funky things, and that was really I was already using Anchor, so
Wow.
I've been a coder again my whole life. Back in the early days of having a BBC Micro in 1985, 1986. So that's how old I am. So writing software back then, and really easy assembler. Thank God it was 6502 assembly, which is really easy to write in comparison to the stuff these days. So I've been left behind a bit, but nonetheless, Anchor was my go-to RPC provider. And as such, you were the guys I really wanted to work with, and we spoke to a lot of RPC providers. Obviously, we wanted to make sure that we were working with the people that we could do a deal with, and as it turned out, you were at my top of my list, and we managed to thrash something out, and here we are today. So I couldn't be happier.
Oh, wow. That's great to hear. Thank you so much, Richard, for all the praises. And on behalf of Anchor, thank you for choosing us. I'm glad that we've been serving you personally, in a way that, you thought of us, for Electroneum, and it's a pleasure. It's an honor, definitely. And I just wanted to say as well that I was actually born in 1995. So when you mentioned that in 95 you were already coding, I was like, what? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I would have been coding in 1981 on a ZX80. I'm 54 years old, so I'm
wow.
getting on a bit. It's long in the tooth. And funnily enough, just a quick anecdote. I took my two daughters when they were little to the Science Museum in London. And I was constantly walking around going, oh, I have one of those. I have one of those. I have an exact coupler. Oh.
Oh my gosh.
So there you go. You're old when you start pointing things in a museum and saying you had them.
Yeah. But again, as I was saying at the beginning, I think with experience comes more wisdom, and that's what probably you bring to the table. And where your value also lie at, and also now you're the CEO, right? Just a reminder for everyone of Electroneum. So your role also has changed a little bit, right? So you have, I'm sure, really great people taking care of the tech, but you can as well oversee, I guess, which is great.
Yeah, it is. I spend far too much time, and unfortunately, this is true of the crypto space, which I had, at the beginning, I had little idea of how much time I would spend with lawyers. It's a frustrating part of the game.
It is.
And I think, you've seen this Trump speech. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this Trump speech talking about that we need that industry clarity. And it's so important.
Yes, indeed.
Because you try and do innovative things. And, as somebody that has spent most of my life in the United Kingdom and has had many successful businesses in the United Kingdom, it is frustrating that the regulatory clarity is still really not there, and the bits of regulation that are there are worded so deliberately vaguely that they basically encapsulate anybody. Some of the phraseology, like trying to think of one, something like if you facilitate a transaction, what does facilitate mean? Well, it kind of means you allow it to happen. Well, so my mother gave birth to me, so she's definitely facilitating. So it's the wording of everything is so vague. And if we can just get through that to have a really, really great regulatory framework that is not just based on the old-fashioned fintech rules, which are basically the banking rules spread out to digital, which is really what everything is running on in crypto at the moment, because crypto is fundamentally different and it needs a ground-up approach. So yeah, my regulatory rant there is coming to an end. But yeah, it's going to be really good to see a proper regulated space. And from my perspective, I'm on the blockchain board for the UK Parliament, and it's called an all-party parliamentary group. That's interesting. And I was one of the founding members of a thing called the DPF, which is the Digital Pound Foundation, which is in the UK, working with Ripple and Quant and a bunch of other people in this space, alongside Will Lovell and the Bank of England to try and shape the future of the digital pound if we get one. So I'm busy.
Oh wow, that's huge. That's huge though. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of shocked when with all this digital pound thing that you have just explained. Well, thank you again for sharing that, Richard. And I'm kind of intrigued by these whole initiative that you mentioned. Well, regarding Trump, I guess that you can agree, more or less with this general speech, but on the regulatory clarity, I think that's something positive. That's something that we definitely need. We, and I speak on, as anchor, I would say, on this one, have also been dealing with, well, just regulatory, I don't know how to call it though, unclarity, uncertainty, and or management, many in the audience probably know Peter has always talked about it. So yeah, it's great, Richard. Thank you for voicing it out for everyone in the industry, and hopefully we get that regulation that the clarity, right, that we deserve sometime soon.
Yeah, it was tricky. Any new? I mean, this is the thing. It's I've been in the game for 7 years, but we've been around. Crypto now has been around quite a long time. 2009, I guess nobody really paid any attention when it launched. Bitcoin launched at the end of 2009, but 2010,
around there.
Someone started to notice. I guess 2014, 2015, people should have started going, do you know what? I think this is going to be something. But I do think it probably is it's only now that the financial services markets have got involved with ETFs that I think now people are going, oh yeah, we can solve all the problems again with by just having it as an ETF existing system. But then you miss having all of the wonderful.
Exactly.
It's not an investment,
Exactly.
It's a technology that can change the whole world, and it is changing the whole world.
Exactly.
And as such, you can't shoehorn it in to the existing regulation. So, look, we'll wait and see. We'll keep our fingers crossed, but it needs some progressive thinking people on it. And whilst I do think that perhaps Trump is using it as a fairly popular
could be
vote, I'm all down with it. He's got my vote, and I'm sure people won't like me for saying that. And not that I have a vote. I'm not in America, but
I know. I mean, me neither. So we don't have any vote, and this one. So just as a disclaimer, right? And I think you're right. I think it's around 2014, more or less, when it became kind of visible. I remember watching TV and then learning about this Bitcoin thing, right? And I remember at the time that some shops in Puerto Banús, so in Spain, in Marbella, were accepting it as a payment method. And at the time, I just thought, oh wow, this thing can be exchanged for items, for things, So I think that at the time they should have already sort of started to see it coming, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I think what happened there is then fear setting because of its pseudo anonymity, or pseudonymity or whatever that people say about it now. I think that has just sparked fear in the government's eyes, and that's the reality. Is all this is a knee-jerk reaction to the fear that crypto could be used by criminals, and that's the tragedy of it. It's all things that have value are used by criminals. I'm sure diamonds are smuggled across.
Oh wow!
I'm sure the local drug dealer is more likely to take a dollar bill than he is a Bitcoin. But nonetheless, we're not banning diamonds and we're not banning dollar bills, and both of those are anonymous things. So it's frustrating to see it treated the way it is.
It is.
When it's got such wonderful things that it can do. Obviously, it's in its infancy, and there's always going to be hacks and sad stories of fortunes lost and small amounts of money lost. Still a sad thing to see. But at the same time, again, it's worth remembering that the biggest losses taking place in terms of fraud are taking place in the traditional banking world. People are losing their hard-earned money because their bank accounts have been emptied because they've fallen foul to some kind of scam. So the regulatory framework isn't really about protecting people, because if it was, we already know the regulatory framework for banks doesn't work because people are getting scammed more there than they are in crypto. So it's really, I suspect the whole regulatory framework is really all about tax and in trying to ensure that, the fair share of tax gets paid. And so I think that perhaps they're just being straight about that might be the answer. Look, what we're worried about is tax. Let's just make sure we get our tax.
Well, that's definitely a big part for regulators in Europe, I think. And it's not me saying it or a personal opinion. I think I've read, infinite reports on this. And also, I don't know in the UK though, Richard, but definitely, in other European countries, they're starting to ask you for wallet addresses to do the taxes. And asking you for full reports on what you've been doing, what you haven't done, what you're earning from staking, how mining should be considered. Well, it's a lot of headache, to be honest.
Well, mining was literally killed. If you were running mining legitimately in the UK, it's been murdered by the regulators, because you're not allowed in the UK to claim back your electricity costs, as an expense, which makes it impossible to crypto mine in the UK. Well, proof of work coins at least. So
I see.
Yeah, there are some bits of madness out there, as we've discussed. But there we go.
Yeah.
We just ran.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say we probably have to move on from the regulatory rant. Nonetheless, it was an interesting. We just were exchanging perspectives, right? And I think that it was a kind of really interesting and different perspective coming from someone really knowledgeable like you, Richard, and you're also actively involved in trying to help and sort things out for regulators, which is great. So moving on, let's maybe talk about what's currently on your plate. So initiatives, projects that you're currently working on that you would like to highlight. I think our listeners love to hear about, the latest developments or what they can look forward to.
Yeah, cool. Well, we've got, in terms of, funnily enough, I've got a meeting next week with the blockchain guys. So they've got some funky ideas about changing our validator setup and expanding it out beyond NGOs, universities. I mean, funnily enough, ChainSpect have just come on as a validator as well. So thank you again to ChainSpect for that. So we're widening our decentralized base. So that's, and we've got a few more ideas about something that, again, hasn't been done. So blockchain guys are busy. We have an AnyTask app coming out, because one of the overriding thing that the AnyTask sellers are really keen to do is communicate via the app rather than having to log into the website on their phone. So that is well into development. Hopefully will be out Q4 of 2024 or early 2025, because we're always late. Sorry about that. And what else do we have? We've got, in terms of most of our focus for this year is, and into next, will be on-chain development. And also, like I say, I'm really, really keen to get more students using the chain to develop on, so that they're familiar with Electroneum straight out of university, so that it's a chain of choice. And so it'd be really nice. Again, it's a dangerous area to get into with regards to talking about adding USDT and things onto our chain. It's not really something I can cover here, but I suspect that we will see some of the regulated stable coins coming onto the chain. We certainly will see people wrapping. There's a big provider that we are talking to that will be that have already said that they really want to bridge onto our chain. So we're going to see a big bridge launch later in the year, I'm sure. Say that later in the year, probably not too long. I'm not too sure. I'm not in charge of their timelines, but there's all sorts of things coming up. And then, so it's going to be development. It's going to be really interesting to see what people can develop, what innovation there is taking place on the chain, and really getting that hand in hand with that developing world model. So we might also be building some oracles to enable the blockchain to be used for some specific things. Again, I won't go into exactly what that means, other than to say an oracle is a trusted source of the truth, for contracts. And with an oracle, it means you can work with specific data sets. So I'm getting too close to the to something I'm under NDA on, but yeah. So effectively, we've got our plates full for the foreseeable future, and we keep our heads down and just get on with it. We're trying to deliver something funky for our users in the developing world. But like I said at the beginning, I think we've realised that it's really important that we also don't forget about what I would call the traditional, sort of marketplace or traditional area of crypto people.
Well, you've shared a lot already, Richard, and I always remind our guests to beware of confidential info, confidential stuff that you can't share. But this time, I don't know why. I haven't reminded you, but yeah, still, I think that's quite a lot. And also, I think this is a great chance also for, to tell people to stay tuned, right? Where can they do so, Richard? Where can they learn more about all these developments and advancements that you've mentioned whenever it's out?
Yeah, I mean the best place would probably be our Twitter feed. So at Electroneum, there's always people are always posting on there what's going on. We've got Facebook and Telegram and whatnot, but Twitter always seems to be the best go-to place. And you can see my age from the fact I'm calling it Twitter. I'm sure my kids would be down with Snapchat, but I have no idea.
Yeah, me neither. I know that it's really popular in the UK, and I tried using it to, I've got friends over there, and they always tell me like, "Hey, Sergio, get Snapchat, and we can snap each other." And I'm like, well, I don't know how to snap, if I'm really honest. I've tried to snap, but I couldn't effectively snap.
Yeah. My wife has to snap the kids out of their bedrooms to come down for dinner.
I see.
But yeah, so X is your answer. Go to x.com/Electroneum to follow our updates. Please do follow us and keep an eye on what we're doing. If anybody's there and wants to go and take a look at anytask.com, I don't know if you have a list of people that are on this chat, but if you do, I'd be more than happy to give everybody a gift card that's on this chat. I've no idea how we do it, and I don't know if it's feasible, but I've got a chap here that will almost certainly try and work out the logistics with you. Mm-hmm. Anybody's on the chat, I'd love to give them a $20 gift card or something so that they can use Anytask and see how awesome it is. So,
wow, that's huge. I guess we could always take some screenshot of who we have. We definitely.
I'll get someone to reach out. So I don't know how we do it. I'm sure we now have a few people. We always get 1,000 scammers after that.
Yeah, of course that happens all the time.
I'd love to do it because go and have a look. Once you've used Anytask and you realise actually you're buying from some of the poorest people in the world, and you're not just getting a great service, because some of them are absolutely incredible. You can get a logo design, and the guy will go, I had 3 designs in my head, so I know I've only taken $20, but I designed you 3. They just do these amazing things, and they're just young lads or young girls sitting on their laptops, and they've got time on their hands, and they're super happy to earn a bit of crypto. And like I say, the fact that we're now going to be expanding where they can take that and what they can do with it. That's what this whole journey has been all about in terms of, anchoring the RPC and indeed going to the EVM model. It's still going to be about the developing world. We've got a passion for trying to get those digital skills out to the market and make things happen. So yeah, go and have a look at anytask.com, have a look at Electroneum, and we've got a website there as well. The website's always a bit out of date because, unfortunately, everything needs to be run past 27 lawyers and 5 rounds of translations and goodness knows what. So the best thing is to just hang out on X.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for all that, Richard. And well, it really sounds like you have some exciting things in the pipeline. So that's huge. And I also wanted to mention that we are also often kind of late in. Well, that's one thing I always say is development work is always really challenging to estimate. You can estimate, I don't know, maybe it will take something like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but then there are always circumstances that are out of control, out of your control, right? And we need to fix things. And well, I'm not a developer, but I've been working with developers, and I know it's challenging, and we call it the dev days. So when a dev says 14 days, we ask, is it dev days or just regular days? But it's sort of a joke. We don't try to be mean with the devs because, well, we know it's really hard. So thank you again, Richard. And well, I see a lot of requests to speak already, and we haven't finished yet. So it'll be kind of interesting, I think. And
Okay.
yep. Now moving to sorry, moving to the broader industry, right? Because the cryptocurrency and blockchain space is evolving so quickly, and it's always valuable to get a perspective on where things are headed. So, in your view, what's the significance of your work in the broader context of the cryptocurrency and blockchain industry, so in our industry, right? And how does Electroneum fit into this rapidly changing landscape? Though I believe that you have experience in this one since, well, you're a 2016 project, which there aren't a lot out there.
No, I think in terms of where we fit, I think we've always sort of stuck to our guns here on our access and entry into developing world markets, and loads of projects now say they are. I mean, you see these, meme coins or whatever they talk about.
Yeah.
They're just like so many things that are just, the market. It seems completely insane, but at the same time, we keep our heads down, like I say, and just get on with developing stuff. And we're around for the long game. That's really where we're at. It is still very much my baby. I still live and breathe it, and spend every day on it. So it's my other businesses I don't spend any time with them. Bless them. But this one is my passion. So my personal aspirations are for this to be a greater and greater success. Further usage. Lots more people using the blockchain now to not just make transactions like they've done for years on our blockchain, but to actually develop things and have new experiences on the blockchain. So yeah, that's kind of where I sit.
Oh, thank you for your insights. And it's always valuable to get a perspective, on how a project fits into this larger picture. And I think that we are today, learning a lot from Richard, and also seeing these different perspectives that he provides us with. And just an extra question on this one, Richard, how do you see Electroneum contributing to the future of our industry? So what role do you see it playing as the industry, continues to grow and evolve?
Yeah, well, I think it's really important to me that we keep the infrastructure being built to keep the costs down of transactions. So it's great to see. The headline figures that ETH has gone up and Bitcoin has gone up or whatever, and that's all people focus on. They just focus on the investment opportunities or whatever within it, and I understand that. And we've been around a long time, and we'll be around a lot longer. But at the same time, not that many people are focusing on the projects and saying who's actually who's actually developing something that's being used and is going to make changes. And I think when you go and look at some of those projects that are out there, some of these second layer projects that add functionality to existing infrastructure, I love those. I think they've got some real big opportunities there. And also, you've seen some runaway successes in terms of smart contract based development. But when you look at the big runaway successes, which are the Uniswaps or whatever of the world, you realise that actually most of it is still within that ecosystem of investment, rather than it being about the underlying technology. So I think that it's great, that people are using it, but I think we're going to start to see more and more real world use of the technology itself, outside of the speculative nature of a lot of this market.
Oh, that's enlightening. Thank you, Richard. It's exciting to see. Was exciting to get your vision, and well, also learn how Electroneum is positioning itself within the industry. And I'm sure that you guys will make a significant impact. Now that we've been talking a bit about the future, so looking ahead, and I always like to ask questions, that and ask for your personal opinions, right, on things. So I'm sure our listeners are also curious about what's next. So what are some long-term goals for Electroneum? And I think we like to take this as a personal opinion, of course, not on behalf. Well, I mean, it's difficult, right, to separate that, but it's your personal opinion on how things will go. What are some long-term goals? It's always inspiring, to hear about the future plans or what's in your head, right, on top of your head, of innovative projects like yours.
Cool. Well, in terms of how I see we've got the sort of, there's a bit of a dividing line between AnyTask and Electroneum, even though they're all developed by similar teams, but they are effectively sort of joined at the hip with Electroneum being the underlying functionality of AnyTask. But there's so much excitement about AnyTask. It's remarkable. It sees more excitement in it a lot of the time than Electroneum, that people just think, oh, it's another cryptocurrency, because it's quite functional and it's got a great backstory to it. The fact it's making a difference in people's lives. So what I wouldn't be surprised to see is some sort of corporate partnership with AnyTask to take that into a much bigger field, because, like I say, the interest in it is large. And I also would consider the possibility, because actually it makes real world use of crypto readily obvious and readily available. I would consider a partnership with AnyTask with one of the other major blockchains. So that would enable people to get paid out with multiple cryptos. We would never stop ETN being a payout mechanism, but it would give access to earning somebody else's as well. And in turn, that would then drive a huge new market into AnyTask and into seeing the Electroneum project. So I think that there's quite a lot of opportunities on that side. And on the Electroneum side, we're seeing, like I said before, we've got people talking to universities that are teaching Solidity. And of course, this is fairly early days. Smart contract courses at university is still a fairly rare thing. It's not like physics or chemistry that, you go everywhere. They're fairly few and far between. But we're starting to see more and more universities adopt smart contract courses. And as we do, like I say, around the developing world, I'm absolutely positive we'll be picking up universities as validators. As I said, we're already in conversation with a few. So I think we will start in the longer term to start seeing people coming out of university who are already Electroneum native. So I think that we should see a really good integration into the coding community, and thus larger adoption.
I have a question. So when you say there's relatively more excitement around any task, do you mean internally or externally?
No, externally. Whenever
See.
people talk to me,
Mhm.
I'm constantly trying to get corporate deals for both, and trust me, that is not an easy task
Mhm.
because the corporate world is relatively terrified of the crypto space. We actually had something that was really exciting. This was the Christmas before last, and it all went south really fast from us dealing with a telco, a really large telco
Mhm.
at board level, where we were doing due diligence, and it was like, we are going to be doing some sort of a really large deal. Two, brakes were on, and it all went south, and that was due to FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. So thank you very much for that, Sam. His FTX collapse, changed that whole marketplace, and it killed that deal stone dead. Even though it was nothing to do with us, it just was giving crypto a bad name, and we haven't got over that yet. Not FTX specifically. I just mean crypto having a bad name. I think corporates are still absolutely petrified of putting their corporate name, their brand, to anything that's crypto, but time will change that. You go back 5 years ago, they would have laughed in your face about an ETF. The ETFs are now almost old hat. Give it four, 5 more years, they will be old hat. And actually, the more acceptance for the greater marketplace and the greater fundamental technological space of crypto, the more corporates will actually start to absorb some of these projects, I think, into a corporate environment. And again, because of the way we're set up, with permission validators, which gives the ability to do some things that are much, much harder to do outside of permission validators. And we've got that super fast 5-second finality, which again is really good. And we've got other cutting edge stuff that will be coming out. I think that there is ample room for a corporate partnership with us, where we could do something exciting with a big corporate. It's all about getting that expansion into a marketplace that it already exists that could benefit from blockchain. And the one that springs to mind and was based off that last potential deal was Internet of Things. That they were a large Internet of Things provider, and that was what they were excited about. But I haven't managed to re-warm them up yet, but I'll keep you posted.
I see. Yeah, thank you for that clarification, Richard, and thank you also for sharing your vision. It's always inspiring to hear about these future plans, and all that. And how do you envision the future of Electroneum and its impact on the global economy? Because, well, you mentioned that basically with dApps, that you've been developing, you are sort of serving, right, people around the globe. And when you mentioned you're making also they're making some extra income, right? So, just repeating the question, just in case you got lost. I'm sorry. How do you envision the future, of Electroneum and the impact on the global economy?
Yeah, well, I think at the moment there's maybe 30,000 sellers on any task, and a few thousand of them have got good, like outstanding reviews and do regular work. So it's still not as massive as it can be. It can be 10 times, then 100 times, then 1,000 times larger than it is. The freelance space is absolutely enormous.
Yes.
And as that grows, and like I say, the interest in that and the software behind it, the platform is getting really mature. So as that platform grows, I absolutely know that we will see more ETN adoption, simply because it's what powers that platform. So I know that we're going to have growth, but whether or not I could call it, an effect on the global digital economy, it remains to be seen whether I would make such a bold claim as to say we're making a huge dent in it. But do I think it can go to being multiple millions of turnover per year? I absolutely do. I think Fiverr is probably doing $3 to $5 million US a year in turnover, and any tasks are largely cheaper and just as good. So yeah, absolutely. Do I think it can be much larger than it is now? Yeah, I think it could be massive. So that's just one use case. So can we see other use cases? Are these people more likely to go off and use facilities on the chain with which they've been being paid? Well, yeah, they absolutely are. So building that ecosystem is still very much our goal. And whether we are, I wouldn't like to say we're going to be, the biggest. People make these crazy promises, don't they? Oh, we're going to be the biggest. Will we still be a player in 10 years? We will, yeah. So will we be a big one? Well, I hope that we will, but I don't want to go around promising it. But we sure as heck
of course
will be spending our time building out that ecosystem and making use of the new tools that we're developing and other people can develop.
Of course, yeah, Richard, and it's great that you stay humble, and it's hopefully a dream, that comes true. It's definitely very exciting, and thank you for sharing it with us. I would say it's always encouraging, to hear about the positive impact that project like yours aim to have, no matter how big it is. But hopefully it happens on a global scale, right? And hopefully you guys manage to do it. And those were all the questions that I had for you today, Richard. And I think we've covered a lot of exciting topics so far that were on the list and off the list as well.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I've meandered somewhat.
Do you think we still have some minutes to go through questions coming from the community? And I see some requests to speak and ask already, and since minute one, which often means there are some questions that you can't answer, or you probably can't share too much about. Just wanted to sort of note this, before we engage into the Q&A part of the session, if Richard has the time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm quite happy to have a chat. As you said, there are subjects that I am. I mean, I like to chat about absolutely everything, but we've already covered a lot about regulatory environment,
yes,
and it's a dangerous regulatory environment. So there are some things that I'm going to have to sort of go, oh, you know what, I'm really sorry, but I can't speak online about this. So if I answer that way, I'm really sorry that I'm answering that way, and trust me, that is not my gut feeling. If I was sitting in a pub with you, I would be talking.
Of course.
Forum, it's more dangerous for the project.
Of course.
Than I would be willing to allow it to have. So, but yeah, let's go for it. See what people have got to say, and if there are things I can't answer, I can't answer. I'm really sorry, and that's the nature of the beast. Is unfortunately in this world. Going to have a few of them. Yeah,
of course. We have to ensure the integrity and the security of the project first, right? And although this is an ask me anything question, well, you can ask anything, but it doesn't mean Richard, must answer everything or provide all the details, right? Unfortunately, that's not something that. Well, I mean, in an ideal world, this. Oops, I think I dropped for a second there. But yeah, in an ideal world, this would stay in the code. What happens in the code would stay in the code, but unfortunately, that's not how it works. And yeah, now I think I would like to let's open the floor to questions from listeners. If you have any questions for Richard, please send them in. I see we have already quite many comments under these spaces session, and to be really honest, I'm kind of scared to open and read them. And yeah, we will address them before we wrap up. I think we should give priority to these questions that are to requests that are coming in as speakers. So I will start introducing some listeners from these spaces. So we've got Electro Swap. So the Electroneum Dex is Sims. well, I've added it as a speaker,
Cool.
and hopefully connects. In the meantime, I'll be adding some other speakers just in case ElectroSwap can't make it.
Okay.
So let me check. So we've got Akim Adenuga.
Okay.
Hello, Akim. You
Hello.
can unmute yourself.
All right. Can I go
Hello.
ahead?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Hello.
We can
Oh,
hear
great.
you. How are
Oh,
you?
thank you. I'm doing all right, Richard. So, Richard, it's great hearing your voice, and at least I really love this. You do more of this community engagement more, at least so that we'll get to know what's going on with Electroneum. So, at least I been a holder of Electroneum since the ICO since 2017, and it's been great. Electroneum has really sort of put some things forward, so innovative in the crypto space. Just that it's quite unfortunate that he's sort of slid away. Talking about the mobile mining, Electroneum started that first. Then you had to talk about the ETN phone that came on board, and it was really very innovative. And if you look what's going on currently, you see some other projects even copying exactly what Electroneum has done years ago. So, um, it's just unfortunate that things had to sort of happen like this, and I'm glad that you guys are rebuilding. At least we have now moved from a privacy chain to a more public chain, at least, which is more acceptable by a lot of exchanges, and they will be willing to list Electroneum this time around. So, but my own question here, Richard, is how do you plan, or how do you want to excite the community once again? Because you should know that the community has really not shown, they're no more showing interest so much again. So we need that excitement back. So how do you want to really go ahead to sort of excite people, to bring them back on board and say, okay, Electroneum is here, and we really want to build something great for the community. So yes, I'd love Richard to answer that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Well, thank you for that question. Thank you for those words again, and being around for such a long time. And it's a difficult question because part of what I want to answer is covered by the I can't really talk about it. But in terms of how you'll see over the next few weeks, you're going to see that some of the stuff that we're doing in the background, we've been promoting ourselves out to news sources and to people that are in this space, and we've been selling ourselves outside to people that we've never really done before. So I'm hoping that this transpires to being a bit of wave of positivity. As you might have seen that we've got another exchange listing coming on next week, I think. This Friday, I think it is. So alongside that, they have introduced us to a whole bunch of people that they know, and we've explained the story, and they love the story, right? We have been around a long time, and we have done some really cool things, and it is frustrating to have seen projects and not even projects, like I say, ludicrous things with frogs and whatnot that have no bearing in the real world take up so much interest. So I can't say too much about it other than to say we are spending a lot more time. We're coders at heart, right? But we've spent a lot more time getting out there and explaining the project to people rather than going out and writing software entirely. I've spent quite a lot of time explaining the project to people that hopefully will take that message further over the next few weeks.
Okay, I think that's cool enough. So we really hope that what you guys are doing currently will really sort of bring that excitement back, and
Yes.
Electroneum can get this top spot that we've always been before
Yeah,
now.
I hope so too. You know, it has definitely been this new EVM model has been a resurgence of excitement in the team. It's been a resurge of excitement for me, if I'm honest. It took so long to get that chain out, and we were waiting for it for so long. And I can only apologise for the time it took. As said earlier, it's not always easy to predict how long things take to write, but it was a very frustrating process. But everybody internally was frustrated, and now it's out, and it's just left and right. Every single day, I am on calls with people. My diary is constantly rammed with calls, and so that hasn't been like that for the last 18 months. And so I was out there doing some corporate deals that dribbled along and didn't really get anywhere, fizzled a bit. And now I'm busy, and people are excited to talk to me about what's going on. So I'm definitely getting that feeling of excitement back. And we'll wait and see where it takes it. But I'd love to see loads more development on the Electroneum chain, and I will do whatever I can to make that happen. And we've got I haven't spoken too much about it. We haven't got a date for the hackathon yet because there are a couple of other things we want to line up first. But once those things are in place, we'll also get that hackathon announced. And again, that will drive in more developers and more interest and more excitement as well.
Okay, that was great. So just a final one before I zoom off. So, Richard, I really will expect you guys to sort of maybe reapply to these bigger exchanges again. I know Binance has been a headache for Electroneum for a very long time, but I think you guys shouldn't just give up. Apply to these exchanges at least. Those are the sort of exchanges that can give us a much needed liquidity and also draw in more users to Electroneum, because it's very, very important that you guys take note of that.
I can absolutely assure you we most assuredly have not given up in any way, shape or form. So we need more liquidity. Unfortunate but true, and that it's a sort of a bit of a vicious circle. But we're definitely starting to step into the realms of me getting into the danger area of talking about it. But with greater liquidity, with greater exposure, I'm sure comes greater liquidity. With greater liquidity comes more interest. We are now very easy to list, and we used to be very hard to list. So in March, we went from a blockchain that literally was very difficult to list. They had to do a massive security review of the code. They had to do all sorts of things that were very difficult and problematic for an exchange to do, to no longer even needing to run a node because they can hook straight into Anchor's RPC. So it's very easy for people to list us now, and that should make a difference. And well, you've already seen a couple of exchanges, and this next one is not a giant one, but it's got to be up there in the top 10, I think. So it's not a bad one, and we'll keep doing that. We are constantly in talks with people. We just need to drive the project forwards, and we are behind everything you say all the way. Of course, that's what we want, and we haven't forgotten.
Oh, so well said,
That
Richard.
was all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Richard.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming on and having a chat. It's nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Akeem, for the questions. Though I think that to ensure fairness and that everyone has a bit of time with Richard, we should limit it maybe to one or two questions. So one question and a follow-up question, so that we have the rest also has time. Thank you very much again, Akeem. And I see we've got ElectroSwap live as well. So hello.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, very good to talk to you. Obviously, I've seen what you've been doing, and we had a little new section put in the Block Explorer where I see you've appeared. But it's a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, thank you. I am the founder of ElectroSwap, and I just wanted to give a kudos to you and your team. You guys made it real easy to start developing on the chain. Your documentation and GitHub, all that, it was a breeze. Your developers have been a pleasure to work with as far as providing testnet Electroneum, which made it easy for us to develop. So first of all, thank you for that, and kudos to your whole team. I did just have a question, and you can say what you can say about it. I'm curious about the hackathon, how you see that working. Maybe not so much the timing, but we've been building, and we've been building in the background. We've got some new features that we've kind of been holding on to, not wanting to release it because we would like to participate in that hackathon. And I guess I was just wondering how you envision that working, whether you're going to have multiple categories, whether existing projects would be disqualified from that or not. So can you speak to anything in that regard?
I absolutely can. Funnily enough, I just had this conversation maybe through, what day is it today? Do you know, it was Friday of last week. So the conversation was literally like, because we're pushing back the hackathon because we're waiting for something else to drop into place that I can't yet talk about. But because of that, I said, well, we're actually almost blocking people from developing because they're worried about this exact thing. So we need to get a statement out, and I'll make it here for you. We will definitely allow existing projects because it's brand new. It's a brand new EVM, right? So any existing project will absolutely be considered in the hackathon without a shadow of a doubt. Because what I don't want to do is put any blocks onto people launching new and exciting stuff on the blockchain because they're waiting for something that's going to come along that should be adding to and not preventing things from taking place. So if you've got things you are sitting on, please get them out. And if it's DeFi related, if it's got any kind of financial facility, then we probably won't be able to promote it directly on our social channels. But if it's outside of that, if it's fun or whatever, we will do our absolute utmost to take projects and promote them. Like I say, we've spoken to a number of people that we're trying to forge some relationships with people that are in the news, would it be, or I don't know what you call them. I guess they're key opinion leaders or whatever you might call them these days. But if we can get their attention onto projects as well, we will do. So no, please feel free to develop away, and I promise you personally that I will absolutely ensure that any existing projects are able to be considered in the hackathon. Let's be absolutely honest. At some of those hackathons, you see people just drop projects in to try and win a prize at the hackathon. I would much rather see genuine people that have developed something for the long term on the blockchain get those rewards than them going to someone that's just done something quickly, knocked up in a hackathon to try and win a prize, and then they shut it down, which I don't know how many hackathons you've watched, but I've watched quite a few where that takes place. So we're all about the long term. We're not about a quick short term slap something up for a bit of kudos that takes place there and then. We're all about that long term. So we would love to see what you're doing, and definitely you'll be in part of the hackathon. Long answer, sorry about that.
No, thank you so much. One last comment, and then I'll mute myself and let somebody else speak. I was just wondering, ElectroSwap is based in the United States, and a lot of friends and people that we would interact with, they want to participate, but it's notoriously difficult to get a hold of Electroneum as a United States resident. So I'm just wondering, and this may be venturing into places where you can't really talk about, but there is a demand in the United States for Electroneum. So anything that you can do to add exposure for Electroneum in the United States as far as centralized exchanges, just a comment, really, that would be very much appreciated by many people here.
Yeah, okay, thank you. It does, without a shadow of a doubt, gets into the realms of a difficult area for conversation. However, it's just from a point of view, obviously you've got decentralized, which is awesome, love it. And from our point of view, from centralized exchanges, we have legal opinion about our project being a utility from all over the world, and we have legal opinion in the United States that we are a utility. But the large, all of the United States exchanges pretty much are or the ones that you want to be on anyway, are really only interested in projects that have deeper liquidity than us. I think that's our only sticking point. But like I say, it's difficult for me to talk any further than that. But let's build on the blockchain, make it a success, and I think that we will get there. Yeah, I'm on such dangerous ground. I'm picturing my lawyer's face, and it's.
I think, yeah, I think we can probably stop it here before you get into more dangerous ground, Richard. Because I see you stepping in, dipping your toes in it, and I think that's dangerous. I don't want to be not guilty, but I don't want to be part of that.
It's all your fault.
Yeah, well, it's definitely my fault for getting you on air to speak.
You'll have to pay the bail.
Yes, I will. So ElectroSwap, I think we have. I think Richard has covered your question pretty effectively. Anything else, or can we move on to the next one?
No, you can move on. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
Massive thank you to you as well. Thank you. Right out there at the very beginning, developing on our chain, we are so grateful for your interest and your usage of the Electroneum blockchain, and we love you guys. So thank you very much for everything you're doing too.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye bye.
Indeed, thank you for your questions and for being part of the Electroneum ecosystem. So next one up, we have I see the Jesus. Well, feel free to unmute yourself and ask Richard a question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Hi.
Okay. Hello. First off, I would like to thank Anchor for allowing me to speak. It's a privilege to talk to Richard Els. One of the biggest fan. Anyway, I am IC De Jesus. I'm from the Philippines, and Electroneum is my very first cryptocurrency when I entered 2017 as well. So I'm a very, very big fan and very big supporter of your project, Richard Els. And also, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you very much. We've got a team in the Philippines as well that do a lot of our support. So we love the Philippines, love all you guys down there. We've got quite a few people on Anytask from the Philippines too.
Thank you so much. I've never imagined I can talk to you right now. Never in my life. Anyway, also I would like to commend everyone, especially everyone here in the AMA, because Electroneum especially survived that two bull runs and then the two bear markets, and we even outlived COVID global pandemic. So it's a very, very struggle for everyone. So that's a very, very anyway, I have two questions only. My question is just more on the end user. I'm not a technical person, so it's more on the end user for like me, people in the Philippines or any part of the world. So my question is, since the mining has been removed quite some time ago, and then we are now in a smart chain contract or smart chain right now, is there any what do you call this, like a staking program for the holders? Since I'm also a holder since ICO days until today, so I think it's better if we're going to have some like staking program, if there's any in the plan in the future.
Okay, well, we definitely are on dangerous ground talking about staking. It would definitely be considered a financial service. So I can't answer specifically, only to say that I'm absolutely sure someone will develop something that enables those type of things to take place. If you're using MetaMask as a wallet, you'll almost certainly be able to connect it somewhere and find something to stake. But I just want to use this platform to say, if you aren't very technical, definitely do your research on what that means. So you will be able to say, almost certainly you'll be able to earn yield from yield farming on something. There are going to be things coming that people develop on our chain, but do your own due diligence. Do be very cautious, because if you go into these things with your eyes not fully open, there are some dangerous and rocky grounds, and I would not like to see you lose your ETN. So do be very cautious. Like I say, it's very difficult. We absolutely, as a company, cannot create a staking product. That would be a regulatory hurdle that we couldn't overcome. But I am very, very sure that that type of thing will be developed on our platform, because all of the major blockchains that are EVM compatible have that type of thing on. So it's something I'm sure you'll see coming. But please be careful and do your due diligence. Can't say it. And just double check the projects out that you're dealing with. Never put all of your ETN in one place. Spread your risk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably telling you things you already know, but I'm just using it to tell everybody else. Just be cautious of all things crypto.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your answer, Richard. My last question, so I can give time to others as well. Since there's a lot of like boom, a lot of new commerce like Sui, like Sol, like they have also the fast transactions. Like Sui, they're promoting like less than a second. They can uh, do a transaction. I
Yeah.
believe, and then of course, I would like to commend the progress for the Electroneum for the 5 seconds or the finality. It's a great improvement. But the question is, are we still somehow competitive despite of there's a newcomers or new projects that are offering faster transactions?
Yeah, we are. I mean, look, so I don't know what the transaction costs are on those chains. That would be something I'd have to go and have a look at. But we're ludicrously competitive. If not, I would imagine at the moment to deploy a smart contract on our blockchain is probably the cheapest in US dollar terms that there is.
Mm-hmm.
I can't promise you that 100% because I don't know the full market, but we are most certainly competitive there. 5 second finality is fast. You are right. There are one or two people that are probably faster now. I'm not too sure what their validator model is, and I can't tell you whether they have any degree of decentralization or de-risking. I don't know, but nonetheless, one of the things that we want to do is have faster still. There's nothing to stop us making our validators have 1 second finality. The reason we didn't is because at the moment, even an empty block takes up a reasonable number of bytes. It's not that many, but it's probably, I don't know, I'd have to, maybe 400 bytes of data from an empty block. I'm guessing that a little bit, but what I'm getting at is what you don't want is you don't want to be pumping out, you don't want to be making your blockchain size too massive with empty blocks. So as it turns out, as our transaction speeds as our transaction quantities start to come up, and therefore there would be less chance of empty blocks. Plus, we have a new piece of code that we can deploy that radically decreases the block size for an empty block. I think you'll see that our speed increases. We'll definitely keep up with the cutting edge. Don't worry about that. We're definitely doing some good things. And one of the things that we wrote has actually been adopted into the Ethereum blockchain. So our coders are right up there with the cutting edge. So it's good to see that one of our blockchain guys, who's probably floating around here somewhere, has written something that's been taken up and installed on GitHub into the Ethereum blockchain.
Okay. Thank you so
So
much, Richard Elst, and thank you, Anchor. Thank you. From the mhm.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your questions. I hope that you find everything that you want. I hope that people develop what you need, and stay safe out there with your crypto. And thanks for your time.
Okay. Long live Richard. Mabuhay.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you very much. Salam ad, Jesus. And Richard, do you think we have time for one more
Yeah,
question?
why not?
Martin has been, he requested, I think ever since we started these spaces, so I think it really deserves, a little bit of time. So Martin, hello.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Martin from Uganda.
Hi, Martin.
I really I thank you for this forum. I actually got a notification and I was excited to join right away because I was one of the ICO members who still hold. ICO members who still hold Electroneum here in Uganda. It's a community where people are really not technical, and but the reason why I'm still holding Electroneum, mine is not really a question, but it's like sort of a compliment. The reason why I'm still holding Electroneum is because of the spirit behind the founders. I've realized the spirit behind the founders is not just the hype. Like I remember by those years when Electroneum launched, the communities really used to flow with the hype of the coins and the quick returns, the bull runs. But I realized this team was about impacting the real world. The people, the poor people in the villages, you can see what they do in the background is even more than what we see in the community, in the social media and all that. You can see the universities, the NGOs, any task. The reason that I can pick my phone and top up my airtime here in Uganda, where it's a third world country, where I easily top up my phone with internet data or airtime, it shows you the heart and the spirit behind this project, that it's doing so much to see that it brings an impact on the community and the whole world, even when Richard is long gone. That's the one of the major reasons I'm clinging on this. I'm a very big Electronium fan. I brought so many people on board down here, but I'm glad and I believe in you. I just pray that all things work,
Thank you,
all
Martin.
things go the right way. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
It's very kind of you to come on and say those things. It was literally maybe 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks, 6 weeks ago. I was just on the Botswana South Africa border, talking to people on the ground. So yeah, I'm a big. I love Africa, and all the peoples I've ever met across the continent have been fantastic people. So I really am grateful for you taking the time to come on and be nice. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Richard. My only request is that I wish these kind of conversations continue. Like the fans of Electronium who really believe in the project, and we love to hear such conversations and interactions with us, with you, the founders. It keeps us in sync. It keeps our spirits high, and I believe to see more spaces maybe hosted by Electronium itself and many other partners. Thank you very much, and have a lovely time wherever you are.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and I'll take that on board. I've got to be absolutely honest. While we were developing the Web3 stuff, the EVM model, it took so long for us to get it out. I was these sort of AMA things and panels and things that I was doing. It became quite almost embarrassing actually, because people were saying to me, "Where is it? What's happening?" And you know what this market is like. Everybody thinks if things go quiet for a little while, you run away. So yeah, it was a bit embarrassing, but now, like I say, we've been re-energized. The team's re-energized. I'm very much re-energized. I love the fact we've got a new product that's really exciting. So yeah, I'll try and do more of these things as well. And if they're outside, if we're getting some development stuff done that I can talk about, so if we see things being developed on chain that I can talk about, then it will always be my absolute pleasure to do so. But thank you, Martin. I'm really grateful for your time.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Martin, for your kind words. And, it's inspiring to hear it from actually an end user. We were speaking about this global impact, right? Richard, just, I don't remember if the last or second last question that I posed you. And whoa, you were saying, right? You didn't want to call it actually a global impact, but, I think, you're impacting Martin, right? From Uganda. And probably there are so many Martins out there, right, around the globe. So I think we definitely can talk about this impact, no matter how big it is, but it's definitely global. Fantastic. So thank you all so much. And I think I don't want to take up too much of your time, Richard. It was great, honestly, and I could feel the excitement from the community, and whoa, how there are still more requests. And actually, I think if we continue it, we'll probably have to stay until night. So yeah, unfortunately, hey guys, I'm sure Richard, will do some more sessions of these. But also, he mentioned, Electroneum is on Telegram as well. Is on Twitter, or well, X now. You can always go there, give them a follow, and comment, under their socials. And I'm sure that Richard or someone in the team will take care of that. And well, Richard, if I can feel the excitement from the community, right? And if you need any support or any assistance in doing AMAs, this sort of X spaces, please let me know. I would love to assist on a personal level.
Oh, it's very, very, very generous of you as well.
No.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and you have been absolutely incredible. It's Sergio, is that right? Is that how?
Yeah, Sergio. Yeah.
Sergio, yeah. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, and you've been an amazing host and a very generous host. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you to Anchor. Big shout out to Anchor. You're going to enable a whole set of developers to make use of our blockchain, and so you are a massive enabler of us, and thus a massive enabler of the developing community as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard, for all your kind words, and for joining us today as well, for your time. I requested 60 minutes to your team, but we are far away from that. So thank you so much for staying, and well, for sharing the valuable insights about Electroneum, the partnership with Anchor, of course. And it was definitely a pleasure having you on the show. And before we wrap up, this is a newly started tradition, but we like to give our guests the final word. Is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners? Any final thoughts, messages you would like to leave us with?
No, everybody just stay healthy, safe, and family first, right? Crypto's great fun, but look after yourselves, look after your family, and everything else will fall into place.
Oh, thank you so much for those final words and for joining us today again, Richard. It's been a pleasure, honestly, having you on the show. And to the listeners, thank you so much for your time as well, for your questions, and for staying with us. It's been absolutely amazing and lovely. Stay tuned for our next episode, and hopefully sometime in the future we can do a part 2 with Richard and Electroneum again. As always, keep exploring the world of blockchain with us, and until next time.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you also. Thanks to your wife for borrowing Richard for us. Take care.
Cheers. Have a lovely day. Thank you.
Thank you all. Goodbye.
Bye.